Minimalists.
How do you let go of limiting beliefs? I'm an aspiring artist, and as Josh may know, that means I've been drawing pretty infrequently lately. I have this belief I must make a profit from my art, and it's stopped me dead in my tracks. But worst of all, it's kept me from feeling happy in my everyday life. How do you minimize your inner critic?
Now, Ben, I think this is fascinating because we often conflate sort of creativity with needing to make a profit right away, but sometimes that actually spoils it.
It does. Look, the most satisfied and fulfilled that you will feel in life is if you're living out your life's true purpose, right? We're all born with a unique skill set. And I think that everyone should have some kind of single, succinct purpose statement, the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning. You know, what the Japanese would call ikigai, or in Italy it would be called the plan de vita. But this idea that you know why it is that you are here and what your unique purpose is. You know, both of my children have purpose statements. One is to create art that elicits powerful emotions from people, right? That's his purpose statement. Mine is to read, write, learn, teach, sing, speak, compete, and create in full presence and selfless love to the glory of God. And that's my purpose. That's what rips me out of bed in the morning. One very important component of your purpose statement is once you have found it, once you have formed it, and you do this by thinking about the things that you really enjoyed to do when you were a kid, the things that make time go by very quickly for you now, put you in the so-called zone, the unique skills that you have that allow things to come easy to you. And when you've identified all of those things, you can piece together a purpose statement based on what it is that you're actually naturally good at and feel a great deal of joy from when you're engaged in that. But if you hone your purpose statement down, you have the perfect purpose statement, and then you go forth into the world, and your goal with that purpose statement is Maslow's hierarchy, right? I'm going to use this purpose statement to get my house, to feed myself and my family, to make a lot of money, to get a better car, have a bigger home, etc. That's pretty unfulfilling versus this idea that you think, I have my purpose statement. I'm going to go out and love as many other people as possible with that purpose statement, right? And I've even couched that into my own statement. You don't have to do that, but in full presence and selfless love for others is kind of tailed at the end of my purpose statement because I want that constant reminder. But you find your purpose statement, and then you go out into the world and you love other people with that purpose statement. So Amber is the gal called in. Yeah, if she creates art and she has an avatar, she has that person in mind who's going to be seeing her art and being moved, being emoted, having some kind of a connection to her art, some kind of inspiration. What is the end goal of what her art is going to do for people? I guarantee that if you are creating your business around a service for other people and loving other people, the money will come. If you come at it from the other angle, I want to do this to make money, you'll often get disconnected from your true self. You'll hold yourself back from creating what you actually want to create because you will experience what one of the more common regrets of the dying is, living your life, creating or doing what the world expects you or what you think the world expects you to do versus staying true to your authentic self. Stay true to your authentic self, love other people with your purpose, and the money will come.
Yeah. There's this thought of, Ryan and I will sometimes say that good businesses make money, great businesses make a difference. And right now, Amber is striving through this thought process because she's been acculturated to believe that I have to make money first. It's the primary driver of doing what I'm going to do. Well, you're striving for, at best, a good business. But a great business, as you said, it helps other people solve their problems. Now, you can do that through art, you can do that through writing, you can do it through plumbing, right? There are different ways to solve people's problems. I loved your purpose statement because there was nothing that even hinted toward earning more revenue or maximizing cash flow or anything like that.
Reach 1 billion customers in 10 years. Like I don't think those are bad objectives to be on a business blueprint, for example, or even as part of the core purpose of a business. Having some kind of metrics that you want to reach. I think that's smart. But in terms of the value that you want to deliver, it really should be for other people. The other thing that's important for a creator, for an artist like Amber, is to realize that it's okay to outsource a lot of the business and the financial decisions and the delivery and the publishing and the shipping to a team, thus equipping and enabling you and freeing you to create. And I've personally found that as I add team members to my team and I'm able to just focus on the writing and not think, okay, who's processing the credit card if someone wants to go buy a book from this article I wrote, and who's monitoring whatever Instagram advertisements for this product that I have in my mind that I want to create. If I free myself from that by surrounding me with other people who do a lot of the business and the financial stuff, it allows me to go into creator mode and not have those little thoughts ticking away at the back of my mind as I'm trying to create, I'm trying to write, as Amber is trying to make art. And so that's a big part of it too, is you want to outsource some of this stuff to a team who can do some of that thinking for you. And in an era of virtual assistants and mechanical Turks, I think they're called nowadays. It's a term used to describe people who do things for you on the internet. It's pretty easy, scalable, and cost effective to find people who can do things like your landing page, your credit card all of that is pretty achievable in this day and age.
I like the advice to focus on creating. It sounds to me like you're saying focus on creating more and maybe on the results less, even though we should care about the results, but if you're just focusing on the results, it's going to stunt your creation. What I like about your purpose, Ben, is it's very lasered, but it's also in a way very broad, because you can, in many ways, fulfill that purpose. It doesn't mean that you have to be an author who gives great advice on health. There are many things that you can do to fulfill that purpose. So that would be something I would recommend, is when someone is coming up with this purpose statement, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to be an artist to make money. Keep it as broad as possible. The statement could be, I want to create work that is going to inspire others or move people emotionally. And I think that'll help take a little bit of the pressure off from Amber here.
Ryan, there's the thing about when we're talking about clutter here, because what I hear in her question even, and Ben, you tell me what you think about this, but really what you're talking about is taking some of these obligations that she doesn't look forward to. You're just talking about taking those off the table. And maybe at first you don't have the ability to do that. Everyone who starts off as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, you might have to do everything on your own for a while, just like Ryan and I did when we started the Minimalists a decade ago. It was literally just the two of us.
You remember going to bookstores and measuring the margins?
Oh yeah. we literally did everything. And we were driving around in his Toyota Corolla from bookstore to bookstore.
Yeah.
We would do events, selling our book, and so sometimes, but eventually you'll get to a point where in order to add value to people's lives, you have to take some of that clutter away.
Mm-hmm.
You do, and I do not want to paint this all as roses and sunshine and unicorn farts. Like there's some hard work that has to be done. I experienced the same thing when I was a personal trainer. Working 10 to 12 hour days with clients in a gym. Counting reps and running people up the stairs and and demonstrating push-ups and squats. I would get home typically around 9 or 10 p.m. I would have a quick dinner with my wife, and then I would be up until about 2 a.m. programming my website, creating PHP scripts, creating the credit card processing forms, doing the Adobe InDesign work on my self-published books. And I was sleeping about 4 to 5 hours a night for a good 3 years to lay the foundation. There are probably things that I was doing then that even then I could have outsourced, but there is a time when you are going to find yourself working a little bit more than you would like to in order to lay the foundation for you to then say, have enough money set aside to bring on your first virtual assistant or to outsource your first project. But, again, 99 Designs, Squarespace, all these websites that make it pretty achievable to do it at a low cost dictates that, you're not going to have to moonlight for the next decade. But yeah, there may be a few months or even a couple of years where life gets tough, and I can tell you that most successful people have had to put in the hard work. And for me in the fitness industry, that's one of the most annoying things when you see some kid pop up on Instagram with a nice body and this crappy little PDF that they made for the workouts that they did. They're on hormones or andro or steroids or whatnot, and they've got everything photoshopped. They have almost zero certifications or degrees or an online moonlit personal training certification. and all of a sudden they've got 300,000 followers and they're filthy stinking rich, even though they never really put in that much of the hard work. There's some of those people out there.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately in the long run, society kind of filters out who actually knows their stuff and who gets results versus who's just a pretty face, who's a flash in the pan.
Yeah. By the way, if you are completely careless like that and you sell someone a PDF for $20, they're not going to come back to you. You're not going to.
Right.
You've lost all the trust with them, and so part of that purpose statement can actually have something to do with establishing trust with people, so that you're adding so much value to their lives that they're eager to pay you in some ways, and we do that with our Patreon. A large portion of our audience listens to the podcast for free, but then there are 5,000 or 6,000 people who listen on Patreon, and they give us the opportunity to pay Sean, pay Jordan, pay Jess.
And value. So when I write an article, you'll often find at the end of my articles on my website, there are opportunities to purchase things. Like, I hope you enjoyed this article. If you want more, grab my book, because there's 18 other tips on this same topic of, say, fat loss in my book. Or, now that I've taught you all about curcumin or turmeric, here's the opportunity to actually grab a product that I created that will help your joints or something like that. However, whenever I'm writing an article or creating a piece like that, my goal is for someone to walk away from having read that a better person, a more educated person. I want their lives to be better, whether or not they purchase anything at all. Same with my podcast. All I want to do is help people. If there are things in there, go to the show notes and grab this from Amazon and it supports the podcast, or, buy this supplement or grab this book, fine. But the goal is to deliver value and to educate. That's always at the top of the totem pole. And if people want to buy stuff based on that, great. But the number one priority is to create value.
And if you get that backwards, you're not just screwing other people, you're screwing yourself. Because if you're not serving those people, then if they don't feel served, they don't feel compelled to to stick around.
Oh yeah, we see this in even internet marketing. Long video sales letters or pitches for products, etc. The best ones have a great deal of education built in it. If you read them, they'll always start by explaining, and there's this molecule and that molecule, or this technique or that technique, or this approach or that approach. And then at the very end, or towards the end, that's when they say, and here's a solution that ties together all these things. And there's even people who sell products online with an exact script, an exact sequence. First you lay down the value here, and then you explain some of the components of your product, then you have the testimonials, etc. But all the best ones start with educate the customer, give them mad value.
Yeah. What do you think about suggesting Amber kind of shift her reward? So right now her reward is making money. So instead of having that as the goal, it should be to move people with her art, or maybe I don't know, just something that isn't so driven by this specific result. Because I feel like when we do that, you go from like getting to do something to having to do something. Because right now, if we can wave a magic wand and like give her, okay, we'll pay you $1 for every single piece of art you put out, I mean, that's just going to make her do something over and over again because she's expecting that dollar. But instead of getting the get to do it, it's now I have to do it to get this dollar for each piece of work.
And the result of that can be pretty much the complete opposite of what Ryan Holiday dictates in his book, The Perennial Bestseller. You wind up creating, let's say for me as an author, I could pump out $5 to $7 PDFs and cheap Kindle books on Amazon all day long, and I could profit heavily from that. And at the end of the day, thinking forward as dark as it may seem to my deathbed, I don't see myself being incredibly fulfilled, with 7 six-pack abs, 50-page downloadable PDFs on Amazon or something like that. I want to write something that's big, that's epic, that's going to stick, that people come back and return to over and over again. And again, if you're caught up in the money-making part of things, you can, as you've just alluded to, Ryan, you can create these $1 pieces of art and sell them all day long and make a profit. But I think that creating true art, creating masterpieces, is far more fulfilling at the end of the day. And so that's another thing to bear in mind, is that with profit as the primary incentive, you'll often create slightly more shallow, less meaningful products, just so you can get them out there, ship, and pay the bills.
Yeah.
Well, the opposite of a shallow product, for sure, is this Boundless book. Amber, I'm going to send you a copy. Actually, I'll send you this copy. Maybe we'll even get Ben to sign it for you,
Sign
Amber.
it. I'll devalue it so you cannot eBay it, and there you go.
Let me ask you, how big was this book before the editing started? Was it like twice as much? Like, did you have to cut a lot to get it to
the
this?
manuscript that I turned into the publisher was 1,200 pages. Those 3 years of working with a couple of research assistants, a scientific editor, the publishing company's editorial team. And so we cut about 600 pages because the current version is 650 pages. Okay. However, I didn't want to kiss my babies goodbye, so I put all the extra content that got cut from the book onto kind of a hidden resources section of the website for the book. And so when people get the book, they can go and put in their little Amazon order number or their order number and get access to all of the hidden content. But that was tough because the way I write books is I generally have a shared cloud drive in Google, and then a separate folder for each chapter of the book with all the research, all the references, the podcast, the audiobooks, the people I want to interview, the ideas I have. There's a separate folder in that main Google Drive for each separate chapter of the book. And so it winds up turning into a little bit of a beast over time, but at the same time, as you revise, you have the previous revision. This paragraph got cut, but we've got, the very first version of the chapter that was written. Mm-hmm. And so for me, kissing my babies goodbye wasn't as painful because I knew they'd live on. They're not in the actual published manuscript, but they're still online. So that kind of freed me up a little bit to have a little less pain about the editing process.